What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and it's time for the Week 12 College Football Playoff Eliminator. After Week 12 of the season, we have new eliminations. Normally, I do this video on Tuesday, but this week's schedule is going to be a little bit different just because of Thanksgiving, and I'm not going to be posting anything on Thursday or Friday because for a number of reasons, just because a lot of people are busy on those days, and also ad revenue on Thanksgiving is usually terrible. So I'm just going to go ahead and get everything done on Wednesday for this week. I may do some posts on Friday that will be a little bit different. I'm not sure yet. But we do have the playoff eliminator for you, and we start with the teams that have already been eliminated. But before Week 12, these teams were already out of it. As you can see here, we have eliminated all the non-Power 5 teams except for Cincinnati. It's going to be really interesting to see what the rankings look like tomorrow night and see if we could possibly bring some teams back from the dead. Maybe BYU, maybe even Coastal Carolina. Does one of those teams have a chance to make the college football playoff? Well, I think we find out if there is at least a tiny chance for that to happen tomorrow night. So here we go. The new eliminations: Indiana, Oklahoma State, Utah, and Wisconsin. Indiana loses to Ohio State. I think they're done. I mean, there's really no path for them to get to the Big Ten championship game. They would need Ohio State to lose 2 games. That's not going to happen. Or maybe they have some games get canceled. You know, something could happen. Even if Indiana, though, went on to win the Big Ten championship with 1 loss, I don't think that's going to be enough. Same thing with Wisconsin. Even if they went out and somehow Northwestern loses 2 games and they win the Big Ten, I don't think that's going to be enough. Really, there's no chance for those teams, in my opinion. Oklahoma State is out of it now. Even if they run the table, it's kind of different. I think Oklahoma is the one team that maybe has a shot. I still have them eliminated for now, but because they're playing so well right now and because their losses were so early, you know, that's a team that could potentially come back from the dead, but I mean, it's a long shot for sure. Utah, they're out of it. You lose a game in the Pac-12 and you are done. All right, how about the teams that have 1 loss, but they are still alive? We're talking Clemson, Florida, Maryland, Miami, and Texas A&M. I almost eliminated Maryland this week. I was thinking, you know, even if they were able to upset Ohio State, if they win the Big Ten, they've still got a bad loss. You know, a loss where they were blown out against Northwestern. But what the good news for Maryland is the fact that Northwestern beat Wisconsin. And that means that perhaps they could get, or they would, if they wound up winning the East, they would get a rematch with Northwestern, and they could redeem that loss. And you know, that could be really big for them. The problem, though, is that the game got canceled against Ohio State. So unless the schedule moves around where there are some cancellations and they get another chance to play Ohio State, I just don't see a path for Maryland. I don't think it's there. But because, you know, it's a crazy year, they could have a nice win over Indiana. They could beat Northwestern in a rematch. There is a tiny path for Maryland, but it would really take somehow them playing Ohio State, and right now it's not on the schedule. I don't know if the Big Ten will be willing to even do that. When you look at the Pac-12, they have done that, where if you've had 2 teams that both had a game canceled, they've let those teams play each other. Maybe the Big Ten could do that if it happened like that. So we're talking, I mean, Maryland's basically out of it. I mean, I probably should have just went ahead and eliminated them, but there is a path, I guess, if something really crazy happened. I probably, though, should eliminate them because I think BYU would have a better chance right now. Their path of getting in is probably better than Maryland's. We know Clemson, Florida, they control their own destiny. Miami and Texas A&M are going to need a little bit of help, especially Miami. I think Miami is probably going to be too far down in these initial rankings. Texas A&M may not need a lot of help. They may just need, you know, if Notre Dame beats Clemson, Clemson's out of it. Alabama beats Florida, Florida's out of it. If A&M can stay ahead of Cincinnati, they could definitely get in there. So that's another thing I'm really interested to see. Where is Texas A&M compared to Cincinnati in these initial playoff rankings? So we have these teams that are still unbeaten. And again, I'm only talking about the Power 5 teams. I know BYU, Coastal Carolina, Marshall, I know those teams are still undefeated. I just right now don't see a path for them. But these teams still unbeaten. And I'd say the biggest surprise has to be that number 3 team right there, Colorado. Colorado has not lost a game heading into Thanksgiving. They are undefeated. Now, I know they haven't played but like 2 games, but still, That's a big surprise. I didn't think Colorado was going to be good at all this year, so I'm really surprised with that. Northwestern has been a surprise. Cincinnati, we kind of expected them to do what they're doing. Alabama, no surprise. Notre Dame, no surprise. Ohio State, no surprise. Oregon, USC. Washington hasn't played a great team yet. They're 2-0. Had a chance to maybe play BYU, but BYU not going to play that game. It could have been a huge opportunity for BYU to get a win over a Power 5 team. Right now, there are 0 Power 5 opponents on the BYU schedule. None. They have no Power 5 opponents. Their best wins are going to be Houston and Boise State. That's it. So, I mean, why would you not try? I mean, they're not going to get in if they go undefeated with the current schedule. But a win over Washington, especially if they were able to win it easily, get a convincing win, yeah, they would have had an argument. They could have potentially made it in, but it is what it is. It's really would have loved to have seen that matchup, BYU and Washington, but we will not get to. And Washington, if they can beat Oregon, they're going to have a real good shot to go undefeated, and maybe they're a team that could sneak into the college football playoff conversation. But this is the updated bracket right now. Again, if all the favorites went out, I think this is how it's going to go. Bama, Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame. Where will Ohio State be in these first rankings? I think they'll be below Clemson and Notre Dame, but I think there might be enough ahead of them to where if they can potentially beat an undefeated team in the Big Ten Championship and start playing a little bit better, start blowing teams out, I think they could maybe move into that number 2 spot. If that does not happen, perhaps they actually wind up at number 3 or number 4. Clemson, if they beat Notre Dame, they'll be right there at 2 or 3, and Notre Dame I think will fall to 4 if they play competitively against Clemson. If they get blown out in that game, I don't think Notre Dame's going to make the playoff. But if they're competitive in that game and they split that series, I think Notre Dame probably winds up as that number 4 team. But it's definitely up in the air. We got other teams that have a great argument. We have Texas A&M right there. If Notre Dame beats Clemson, or if Clemson blows out Notre Dame, you can maybe slide Texas A&M into that number 4 spot. Cincinnati, it's going to be a great debate if Cincinnati went and Texas A&M went out, which team gets in. I again want to see where those two teams are in comparison when these first rankings come out. Florida number 3. Apparently I just skipped the number 4 for some reason. There is no number 4 here, but Florida right there number 3. Oregon and USC should be number 4. Then you have Miami, Northwestern, Oklahoma, Texas, BYU, Coastal Carolina. So really, I think from Texas A&M down to USC, those are the only teams that are going to have a legitimate case. And I think Oregon and USC will need some help just because their schedules are not that great. If Miami wins out, they'll be in the conversation, but they're just not going to have a signature win unless they somehow can sneak into the ACC championship game. Northwestern, if they win out, I think they'll be in, but I just don't really see this team beating Ohio State. And then Oklahoma and Texas, they need chaos. They need A&M to lose another game, Cincinnati to lose a game. They need Oregon and USC both to lose at least one game. And it's going to take a lot, but there is a chance that one of these teams could get in if they win out. Oklahoma's playing really well right now, so I think they would have the better argument. And then if that doesn't even work, if Oklahoma and Texas both lose another game, then you could maybe see BYU or Coastal Carolina get in there. But I think even a 2-loss Oklahoma or 2-loss Texas as a Big 12 champ would be ahead of BYU or Coastal Carolina. That's just kind of how I think it's going to go. We'll find out more again once those first rankings come out tomorrow night. So I'd love to know what you guys think about the playoff picture. Is there a team that I eliminated that you think might still have a chance? Or maybe there's a team I'm still giving a chance to and you think they're eliminated? Just give me your thoughts down in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.